After this little video break, I would like to move to the concluding session of our discussion today and of this 3 days event that was held online and on our website. You can still consult all the testimonials, you can take the quiz, you can submit your suggestions about the future of the Eastern Partnership region of the EU and the Council of Europe cooperation and work in this region. And now I would like to give the floor, and I'm very pleased to do this, to Lawrence Meredith, who is the Director of the Directorate General for Neighbourhood and Enlargement Negotiations of the European Commission. Mr. Meredith has been Director for Neighbourhood Eastern Institution Building in DG NEAR in the European Commission since the 1st of December 2015. In 2015, he was Head of Strategy in DG NEAR of the European Commission and led work on the European Neighbourhood Policy Review. Previously, he has worked for 10 years in enlargement policy, both as the Head of Strategy and Head of the Kosovo Issues Unit. He worked in the cabinet of Commissioner Louis Michel on Southern Africa and the Pacific. And Mr. Meredith studied Russian and French at Oxford University. So I'm very pleased to give the floor to Mr. Meredith on behalf of the European Commission.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much indeed for that warm welcome. I felt I had my life flashing by me in seconds just then. It's a pleasure to join this very important event at a very timely moment and to build on what I know Commissioners Vahe and Dali have said, and also Ambassador Kunever and Acting Director General and my good friend Salas Astamoinen. I mean, as the video very articulately shows, this program is very important for the citizens across the Eastern Partnership and is very much delivering results. I'm particularly pleased to see how active the contributions have been throughout the 3 days from civil society as well as from independent media. We see a very challenging landscape across the Eastern Partnership. There are, of course, important elections coming up in both Georgia and Moldova, local elections in Ukraine. But of course, above all, we see the very important protests on the ground in Belarus, where the role of civil society and independent media is absolutely indispensable, as the European Council has just underlined. And we see the terrible resumption of hostilities over Nagorno-Karabakh and a call in line with the OSCE Minsk chairs for an immediate cessation of those hostilities. And it shows how important this area is that we're all working on. And I thought I could briefly put this in the context of the future of the Eastern Partnership, which was the proposal put on the table in March this year. We had a leaders' conference of both the Eastern Partnership and the European Union in June, and we're looking ahead to a physical summit, hopefully in March next year. I think there are 5 clear priorities, and it was, I think, one of the strongest messages we got from civil society of both the Eastern Partnership and the European Union, as well as from our own member states. Perhaps, if I'm honest, a little bit less from the governments of the Eastern Partnership, was how important the values agenda is. For that reason, whereas in the current setup we have 4 priorities, with one of them on governance, looking ahead, we expect to have 5 priorities with 2 of them on the values agenda. And that will include, on the one hand, if you like, that the harder security stuff that we've just been discussing, the rule of law, justice, tackling organized crime, where this program is already making important contributions. But also, and this is crucially important, moving towards a more inclusive society. And that's where we see the role of civil society, local actors, independent media, youth education and research. So I think those are 2 very important pillars. Of course, as we've heard, the need to build back better, the economy and connectivity will be an absolutely key priority. It's going to be a devastating impact, and unfortunately, we still haven't really fully felt the economic impact of this terrible pandemic. We felt the health impact, but I fear the economic impact is really only just starting to bite. And we stand ready on the side of the European Union to bring strong support on that. But of course also, and these are the other two priorities, looking ahead to build back better means we need a more digital economy, as we can see from the very fact that we're able to have this important 3-day meeting online. I think we've all improved our skills digitally over the past few months, but I'm sure there's much more we can and will learn. And equally the green transformation. And I'm always proud to be a European Union official, but I was particularly proud when listening to President von der Leyen's State of the Union speech recently, where she gave a passionate plea for more green transformation as well as a digital transition. And she very much put values at the heart of both the European Union's internal and external agenda. And I think that shows exactly how relevant this PGG program is. And I'd like to thank all on the side of the Council of Europe, as well as my own team, for the commitment to bring together this very important event over the past 3 days. And above all, looking ahead to the results of this program in the 3 main strands, which are absolutely crucial for delivering benefits to citizens. And I'm sure that we'll all be tweeting about this, and that just goes to show it's important to achieve results, but it's also important to communicate the impact to citizens in a way they can follow. And I thought the video was an excellent example of that. With that, many thanks to all, and over to you, Verena.
Thank you very much. To make sure that Verena's life also flashes in front of her eyes, I'll just say that Verena Taylor holds a PhD in political science, and she has joined the Council of Europe following her involvement in this civil society work. She served in different parts of the Council of Europe, including the Secretary General's private office, and was director of the Council of Europe liaison office with the European Union in 2004-2008. Now, Verena Taylor, she's in charge of the Office of the Directorate General of Programs and is in charge of coordinating and implementing technical cooperation programs with some 30 Council of Europe member states and in the neighborhood. Verena manages a project portfolio of about 240 million euro and 17 Council of Europe field offices. So now I would like to give the floor to Verena Taylor.
Good morning. Hello, Lawrence. Hello, Tatjana. Good morning, all the many people who hopefully watch us and listen to us out there. At the beginning of this event, I reminded everybody that originally it had been meant to take place in Tbilisi in May in the context of the ministerial session of the Committee of Ministers of the Council of Europe. And that would have allowed us to meet and to have a direct exchange, to be motivated and inspired by each other. This version of the event, on the other hand, allowed us to reach out to some 10,000 people who have been following us in the last 2.5 days at one moment or the other. This sort of is a first reference to the digitalization that Lawrence just mentioned. So this is simply also a very different way of working, and equally important. Mostly, the people who followed us, of course, were citizens of the region of the Eastern Partnership, which confirms their wish for continued reform. The region faces big challenges right now. We are all aware of that. And I think while the progress achieved also through this program may not always be apparent to citizens right now, it is nevertheless the case that more people in Europe enjoy the protection of their human rights and enjoy a fair and stable rule of law situation than ever before. And this is, of course, what we are aiming for also for the citizens in the Eastern Partnership countries. Importantly, this event has provided an inclusive platform, bringing together representatives of many different walks of life. And it has been combining information, testimonials, and live events. There is also a suggestion box. So this is a very direct way of communicating with our participants, and I will come back to that at the end. The tremendous interest and feedback encourage us to continue working together with the European Union and the countries of the region to further promote human rights, the rule of law, and democratic governments with a view to improving citizens' lives. And if I say that, I actually really refer to measurable progress. The work that we have been developing together is not just discussions. We're actually improving things, and this can be measured. And also to increase the democratic resilience of societies, of the societies in question. This resilience is also necessary to deal with the impact of COVID-19. This has just been discussed in the previous panel, I think, in a very interesting way, but dealing with the impact of COVID-19 in full respect of human rights and the rule of law. And in this context, I would like to not only say that, of course, the PGG has proved to be a very flexible instrument that made it possible to quickly introduce alternative working methods, to continue work towards the objectives we have decided on together. But I would also like to perhaps refer to the COVID-19 toolkit for Council of Europe member states that were launched by the Secretary General of the Council of Europe during the peak, the first peak at least, of the pandemic, and which is designed to help ensure that measures taken by member states during the crisis remain proportional to the threat posed by the spread of the virus and are limited in time. So I think this is something for those who are interested you can find on the internet. During these 2.5 days, a number of priorities have been mentioned and discussed, and the future referred to. Lawrence just also did that. Of course, what we will finally do, what we will finally focus on, depends also on the parameters the European Union deliverables set and the monitoring recommendations of the Council of Europe monitoring bodies suggest. I should nevertheless like to mention some ideas that were left with us in the suggestion box, because this is really what people said and not just what we as international organizations or institutions say. I would also like to refer to the values agenda, perhaps, because what this program does and what the Council of Europe does is translate general values of human rights, rule of law, and democratic governance into standards that are tangibly influencing the life of people. So we're not, again, in the general realm, we're very, very concrete here. Now, in the suggestion box, we found, among other things, quite a few requests to work more on human rights, which is, of course, underlying all our cooperation, but not explicitly, very much touched upon at the moment. And in this context, also very much the Istanbul Convention against violence against women and domestic violence, which is, of course, an instrument which still needs a lot of awareness and progress in the Eastern Partnership region, since only one country so far, Georgia, has ratified it. There were also some very specific with regard, for example, to working with journalists and even to support investigative journalism, which in the context of combating economic crime, for example, might be something that could be interesting. Lawrence, you mentioned the green transformation. This is also an issue which has clearly very much enthuses our viewers and people who leave messages in the suggestion box. And I'm very happy to say that in the Council of Europe we have actually just finished our first text that again tries to translate the general concept of dealing with climate impact into very measurable and concrete steps that can be applied in every single project. And I'd also, of course, like to say that a fair and efficient judiciary can do a lot also to contribute to not just fighting economic crime, but very specifically fighting economic crime in the context of climate impact. Together with our partners, both the European Union and the countries of the Eastern Partnership, we will discuss all this, and we will spend some time to develop, I think, a follow-up to the current program in the future. At the same time, of course, we will continue the implementation of this project, and we very much look forward to presenting to you all the results at the end of the current phase of the Partnership for Good Governance. I should also like to say at the very end, because I have been asked to do so, that the results of the photo competition, which is also one of the aspects of this 2.5-day event, the results of the photo competition will be announced on the 1st of December. So don't forget about this event. Do come back on the 1st of December in order to find out who won the photo competition. So with this little light touch, I would like to wish you and all of us all the best for the future and success, much continued success to this program. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this concluding remarks. And indeed, we encourage everyone to visit the website, not only on the 1st of December, but before that as well, to take the quiz, to look at the fact sheets in all the languages possible of the Eastern Partnership region, and and we are going to work for you, and we're going to work together with you until the end of this phase and further. So thank you very much. Keep tuned to the work of the PGG, and of course, keep safe. Goodbye.
Thanks a lot.